the MAGA cult, which is a coalition of the brainless, and when it comes to fellow Republicans, the spineless, that coalition is not going away. Trump and what he represents must be repudiated. Not conservatism or republicanism. MAGA must be repudiated.
That was unbelievable. But you have to wonder, why have sports journals decide to go on a political attack mode against Donald Trump and others like Aaron Rodgers? You have to wonder why these comfortable millionaires have decided suddenly to speak out with such willful ignorance and malice. Over the last couple weeks, this become obvious. The liberal sports media has been activated. They have been given their marching orders, and it seems that the chips are being called in by the Biden team. And in doing their duty, they are revealing who they really are. If you're a subscriber to this channel, which you should be, you probably saw my video where Charles Barkley openly on CNN broadcast a television show that he wanted to punch black Trump supporters in the face. Imagine that, a CNN host on a broadcast television show openly calling for violence against black people. Oh, well, they happen to be Trump supporters, so maybe that's okay. Now imagine that CNN host was black and was actually calling for black on black violence. Actually, you don't have to imagine it whatsoever. Charles Barkley did it on CNN. Heading towards this election, it's obvious that we're approaching a very dangerous time. And now, even more sports reporters are jumping into the ring. And as I made this video, I wanted to make sure I clarify, I am not trying to tell anybody who they should vote for. I'm not saying that whatsoever. What I'm saying is that these news outlets and sports reporters are being completely disingenuous. You see, they are not talking favorably about Joe Biden. They can't possibly do that. All they are doing is attacking everybody who doesn't favor Joe Biden. They are working really hard to suppress any thought of opposition and are working even harder to attack people who oppose Joe Biden. In this video, I am going to show you video proof of a coordinated attack by the sports media to attack people like Donald Trump, Donald Trump's followers, and even people like Aaron Rodgers. You just watched a short snippet of a video where Bob Costas, the Olympic reporter for NBC, directly attacked Trump supporters. He says we need to be repudiated. He said Trump supporters are brainless. He openly insulted nearly 100 million people in this country. And what's worse, he actually received applause for saying it, which obviously just emboldens these people to continue with their vitriol and attack mode against Trump and Trump supporters and any opposition. He didn't just call for the defeat of Donald Trump and his supporters, he called for repudiation. Repudiation means to completely disown, have nothing to do with people who don't believe what you believe. How is that good for a society where you just don't want anyone to have any opposition whatsoever, and if they do, shun them, disown them, ignore them? They are less than human. Bob Costas just called for the repudiation / disowning and ignoring of 100 million Americans. They are not worth your time, not worth even talking to. That makes Trump supporters less than people, less than other humans. So in Bob Costas' eyes and many other Trump-hating people out there, especially in the media, that makes you less than human. You're not even worth the time to discuss issues with. Forget about it. You're repudiated. Go away. And now CNN, that bastion of journalistic truth, has decided to attack Aaron Rodgers.
I have some exclusive new reporting with CNN's Pamela Brown.
Got to stop him right there. Exclusive new reporting. Remember what he just said. Exclusive and new.
One of Robert Kennedy Jr.'s prospects for vice president, he has acknowledged, is New York Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers. CNN has learned that in private conversations,
CNN has learned in this new and exclusive report. Listen to what he says next.
Rodgers has shared wild and unhinged conspiracy theories in which he claims that the 2012 Sandy Hook shooting was not real.
2012. New, exclusive, and has shared. We're talking about a report where he's digging back. Before we get to the veracity, he's digging back 12 years to say anything about this new and exclusive report.
CNN knows of 2 people with whom Rodgers has shared these views, including CNN's Pamela Brown. In 2013, when CNN's Pamela Brown was covering the Kentucky Derby, she was introduced to Rodgers. Hearing that she was a journalist at CNN, Rodgers began attacking the news media for, quote, covering up important.
2013, Pamela Brown supposedly, allegedly, went to the Kentucky Derby. That's 11 years ago she went to the Kentucky Derby. And this is a new exclusive report that just happened to, evolve as, Aaron Rodgers is being looked at as a possible vice president candidate with RFK. You believe in this?
Stories. Rodgers then brought up the Sandy Hook shooting and said the news media was intentionally ignoring that the shooting wasn't real, that it was a government inside job. I remind you, the shooting, of course, was very real, very tragic. 20 children and 6 adults were murdered that day. When Pamela Brown asked Aaron Rodgers for evidence of what he was talking about, Rodgers then began sharing various theories that have been disproven numerous times by evidence. Rodgers falsely claimed to Pamela Brown that there were men in black in the woods by the school.
Pamela Brown is probably down the hall. Why didn't you put Pamela Brown on television and let Pamela Brown say what she supposedly said? Why are you getting this talked in your ear and then you're going ahead and spewing it out there? Pamela Brown's an on-air host. Why didn't she talk about this story? Don't know. But you rather, portray it as though you know something and she knew something from 11 years ago, but now it's big news.
And he asked if she thought that was odd. CNN has also spoken with another person, one who would like to remain anonymous in order to avoid harassment, who had a very similar encounter with Aaron Rodgers, saying that Rodgers claimed that, quote, Sandy Hook never happened. Quote, all those children never existed. They were all actors, unquote. When asked about the grieving parents, many of whom I've met, and they and their grief is real, the source recalled that Aaron Rodgers said, quote, they're all making it up.
Sort of like what you may be doing right here, because we have no idea because you have an anonymous source.
All actors, unquote. Aaron Rodgers, through one of his agents, declined to comment to CNN. RFK Jr. told CNN in an interview on Tuesday that he had recently met with Aaron Rodgers, as well as with former Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura, about the possibility of joining his campaign as vice president. Kennedy is expected to announce his pick on March 26.
It's convenient how you found out that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was going to basically announce his vice presidential pick on March 26. You had to get out there with this story without doing any real reporting. If you notice there was no reporting. CNN doesn't do reporting. Somebody told me something and I'm running with it, and it's an anonymous source and it's another news host on CNN. And we know that how CNN news hosts work, don't we? I mean, Charles Barkley said he wants to punch all black Trump supporters in the face. You've lost your credibility. Do I know whether or not, Aaron Rodgers said this? Well, how about if you just took the time to ask Aaron Rodgers? Now, I understand he said he wouldn't come on your network, which I don't blame him, but it's not like there weren't, other things out there that you could confirm.
I hope that we can learn from this and look for the signs more and not ever have something like this happen and keep this on our minds, because these are things that...
Now, understanding, what I'm playing you right now is a recording that Aaron Rodgers did on ESPN radio in Milwaukee right after the Sandy Hook shooting. This was readily available, but Jake Tapper decided not to air it. Listen to what Aaron Rodgers says.
Affect all of us directly or indirectly, and this needs to be something that we learn from.
This needs to be something that we learn from. Is this a guy who made up a conspiracy theory, or was he maybe just hitting on a hot TV host at the Kentucky Derby? I don't know, but those are his own words. You didn't even offer them as part of your broadcast. So then Aaron Rodgers took to Twitter/X to tell people specifically what he said. Here's Aaron Rodgers' tweet. As I'm on the record saying in the past, which I just played for you, what happened in Sandy Hook was an absolute tragedy. I am not and have never been of the opinion that the events did not take place. Again, I hope that we learn from this and other tragedies to identify the signs that will allow us to prevent unnecessary loss of life. My thoughts and prayers continue to remain with the families affected, along with the entire Sandy Hook community. How hard was that, Jake? How hard was that to actually get the words from the actual man instead of anonymous sources? But that didn't fit your narrative, so you just blasted it out there. And then on top of that, you put out this tweet, which is just stupid. Breaking from me and Pamela Brown. RFK Jr.'s VP prospect, you had to qualify. You couldn't just said Aaron Rodgers, because that's what's most important. You were going after RFK Jr.'s potential VP pick, has shared false Sandy Hook conspiracy theories in private conversations. That's weak. That's weak sauce. And what's funny is with a couple of people here. So this guy goes down here, CJ Johnson, WTF. And look what Jake Tapper says. That's the correct reaction. He was looking for people to be completely abhorred, completely pissed off that Aaron Rodgers had said something that somebody anonymous and one of his other hosts have told him. The objective was to rile people up, and it worked. You see, that's the problem with CNN and many of the mainstream media outlets. They want you to believe everything that they say and don't believe anything that they don't say. I know that sounds confusing, but we'll just go ahead and tell you what you're supposed to hear, and you ignore everything else because we didn't say it. That is truly insidious. Aaron Rodgers is obviously a first ballot Hall of Famer. Is he wacky? Sure. Is he eccentric? You could say so. But to launch a weakly sourced attack, a political attack on an NFL quarterback, a private citizen, based upon the conversations that were held supposedly 11 or 12 years ago after a massacre, that's even weak by CNN standards. But it doesn't matter. There will be no retraction by CNN. They did what they were ordered to do. Remember, these people just don't want a repudiation of Donald Trump and Donald Trump supporters. They want full repudiation for anyone who's not going to be voting for the senile old man. Unfortunately, Aaron Rodgers just found that out. Listen, I've told you, I'm a Trump guy. I'm not voting for RFK Jr., but that's my choice. I'm not telling you you shouldn't vote for whoever you feel like voting for, but it's not CNN's job to influence you or show you that you should be voting for a particular candidate. You're supposed to be reporting the news. That ship sailed a long time ago. Why does CNN feel it's their place to try and tell you who to vote for? Because they are owned by the machine. This was nothing but a political hit job by CNN. However, in this instance, they went after an NFL star in the sports world, and amazingly, the wussified sports reporters out there happily jumped in. It's very easy to find weird things Aaron Rodgers has said or done. He's been quite public with his eccentricity, but this is different. The sports journals jumped into this, and they weren't reporting sports whatsoever. They didn't even ask any questions in regards to the validity of the CNN story, because truth and validity don't matter to the nuts. They don't care how they appear. They know more than you. They skipped the investigation. They skipped the desire for truth and validity. They went directly to passing judgment. That's how you know that they've been activated by the Biden administration. They have chosen to abandon all pretense of objectivity. They're willfully convicting Aaron Rodgers in the court of public opinion. They don't care. They didn't even look into any corroboration to make sure it was true. The fact that Jake Tapper said it on CNN lit the fuse, and they took it from there. If that's how you are, and you call yourself a journalist, that's some serious bullshit. Let's look at what some of them said, and we're going to start here with a video from Mike Florio. He runs Pro Football Talk. He is a liberal operative masquerading as a sports journal. Check this out.
People give me a hard time. Oh, here you go, more Aaron Rodgers stuff. What are we supposed to do?
I'll tell you what you're supposed to do. stay in your lane, bud. But we all know that ship has sailed as well. So these sports reporters are no longer just sports reporters in an election year.
The guy might run for vice president of the United States and we ignore it because we're all fatigued. We've all reached our lifetime limit of Aaron Rodgers content. Guess what, folks? This might just be the beginning.
Content. Notice he said that word. We've all reached our limit of Aaron Rodgers content. He's going for clicks.
I have long believed this heel turn that he's taken the past few years is a precursor to getting involved in electoral politics. And here we are before he's even finished his playing career. So get used to it, people.
Well, I mean, it's also not just...
Get used to it. Okay. Now we understand. Now you understand why I decided I had to take my sports channel and start, swerving off and doing some different stories as well, because all bets are off right now. All bets are off until November. And if somebody doesn't tell you the truth, these guys are going to tell you what they believe is truth.
Any publication reporting it. It's the New York Times,
Ooh, the New York Times reported it. The New York Times wouldn't dare say anything untruthful, would they?
In a story about a candidate who appears to be making one of the more viable, I guess one would say more substantive in terms of affecting an outcome potentially, independent runs for president. Like this is not just fly by night right here, Mike,
Yeah. It's not like RFK Jr. is going to win. This is...
No, he's not going to win. So don't even waste your vote. Like I said, I'm not telling you who to vote for, but these guys have no problem telling you you're wasting your time if you're even thinking about voting for RFK. Why? Because a vote for RFK could take away a vote for Joe Biden.
Ralph Nader Green Party get enough of the vote to screw it up for one of the other candidates. Because
you know exactly who they're talking about.
One of my first thoughts was, well, does Woody Johnson, the owner of the Jets, who is a very firm supporter of one of the two candidates, does he...
Woody Johnson, the owner of the New York Jets, he wouldn't say his name, but he's a firm supporter of Donald Trump.
Like this? Does he not like it? Does it help his guy? Does it hurt his guy? I mean, that's the great unknown here, but RFK Jr. isn't going to win, barring...
Yeah, so why make the story? Think about that for a second. If they are so convinced that RFK Jr. doesn't have a shot, why would Jake Tapper have run that story? And why would all these sports journals be jumping on? It's not about winning. It's about, oh my God, Aaron Rodgers is a popular NFL quarterback. He may team up with RFK, could make that ticket just viable enough to siphon off enough votes from Joe Biden to allow Donald Trump to win. That's the story.
Something completely and totally unexpected, but he's in a position to screw things up for somebody who otherwise would win without his presence in the race. And I really I really don't know what Aaron Rodgers' presence on the ticket does for it, other than give it...
It's not up to you. Obviously, if this conversation with RFK Jr. did take place with Aaron Rodgers, that's between the two of them. They don't have to convince you. Obviously, you're not interested in RFK Jr. So why are you doing this story?
Free publicity until Aaron Rodgers says, no, I'm going to stick with my day job. And that may have been all that this is about, Rich. Nothing more than getting us and others to be talking about, writing about the RFK Jr. campaign, which otherwise...
Getting us to talk about it. You think that Aaron Rodgers and RFK Jr. thought to themselves, what can we do to get Mike Florio to talk about this? What can we do to get Jake Tapper to talk about this? Wow, full of yourself much?
Isn't moving the needle. Merely talking about Aaron Rodgers possibly being the vice president on that ticket gets people talking about something they otherwise wouldn't talk about.
People are full of themselves. I mean, absolutely full of themselves. What else are we supposed to do? Talk about football? A lot of stuff going on with NFL free agency right now. Why did you move from NFL free agency to having to talk about Aaron Rodgers with RFK Jr.? Just keep asking the right questions and you'll get the answers. But then the other sports journals jumped in as well. Let's take a look here. Here's Mina Kimes. Mina Kimes is from ESPN. Seeing reactions to this along lines of who's surprised, but man, this is really galling. Far too many stupid and harmful conspiracy theories out there these days. But Sandy Hook trutherism is uniquely insidious. Again, she just ran with it. This is the theme. They just took it and ran with it. Let's go next. This was Mike Florio again. According to CNN, to give himself a little bit of a, buffer, it wasn't me saying it. It was CNN saying it. According to CNN, potential VP candidate Aaron Rodgers has shared false Sandy Hook conspiracy theories in private conversations. Ooh, that's news. Something from 12 years ago that Jake Tapper said now you can use as a source for your own news. See how this stuff works? Very simple. Sarah Spain, another ESPN host. Not sure Aaron is going to love getting the journalism with a capital J treatment. This isn't the Pat McAfee show. So now she's showing her animosity also for Pat McAfee because Aaron Rodgers was on Pat McAfee's show like every Tuesday. They don't like him either. They don't like how he thinks. They don't like that he gave, Aaron Rodgers a platform. And so she takes this shot saying this is real journalism, not the crap you do on Pat McAfee. Jealous much? One more for you. This is Adam Beasley, a reporter. Where's Adam Beasley from? I think he's, let's see here, senior NFL reporter for the Miami Herald. Let's not normalize this. You're the one normalizing it. You just put it out there and said, let's not normalize it. You just made it news. You just made it a story you want to cover. Why? You have to ask yourself those questions. Why would you report something that Jake Tapper said when you know it's not really corroborated yet? You can clearly see their motivation. They're not even hiding it. You want further proof? Go back and look at any of these sports journals profiles and check to see if any of them mentioned a word about Charles Barkley threatening Black Trump supporters. I'll save you the trip. None, not one, none of them, nada, said a single word about Charles Barkley on CNN threatening Black Trump supporters. The anti-violence crew never said a word about Charles Barkley threatening Black Trump supporters. That's kind of odd, don't you think? It's kind of a big story out there for people who wanted to, report on it. And it's in the world of sports, right in your wheelhouse. You all ignored it. Every single one of you. You're frauds. You're full of shit. Why didn't they report it? Most likely because most of them feel the same way as Bob Costas and Charles Barkley. We need to repudiate all of you, shun you, disown you. You're less than human. You're not worth our time. They always come to the support and rescue of people on their side. They look to repudiate anyone who's not. Even CNN, who broadcast Charles Barkley's threat, said nothing. Jake Tapper, who has an office, who's there at CNN, said nothing. But instead with this, he went 12 years back because RFK Jr. dared speak to Aaron Rodgers as a possible VP candidate. And it's not about RFK. It's about Joe Biden. And I know this firsthand because back in 2016, I had an exchange with Jake Tapper. Just me, just some normal guy. I called him out for his Russia bullshit. Here's a tweet exchange that I had with him. I had to go back and dig it up. I said, seriously, Jake Tapper, it's the Russians and Trump. That's the Hillary DNC leaks defense. You failed. And if you guys remember way back and all that stuff was going on, he was out there spewing stuff. So what was his response to what I just said? Hey, Barry Cunningham, I didn't say it was the Russians. The Clinton campaign did. And I expressed incredulity at the charge with no proof. Then why'd you report it? Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed with Jake Tapper in 8 years since he and I had that exchange. Somebody else said it, so I am now going to say it. I don't have any source. I don't have any proof. I'm just going to say whatever I need to say to hurt Donald Trump and Donald Trump supporters. This isn't new. A lot of people I knew when they saw that exchange, like, Barry, you actually called him out? I'm like, yeah, if you see this stuff, call them out. Nowadays, they'll probably ignore you. Back then, people like to engage. I called him out and said, dude, you just reported on something that you have no idea is true. Hey, somebody else said it, not me. I'm just telling you what somebody else said. That's how this works. Fortunately and surprisingly, one prominent ESPN host is sounding the alarm and is sounding more sane every single day. And that would be Stephen A. Smith, which I never thought I would ever say in 1,000 years, that Stephen A. Smith is sounding more sane than almost any other sports journalist. Take a listen to what Stephen A. just had to say.
Another NFL topic, back to the NFL, because there's some headlines taking place that's now crossed into the world of politics. Are you ready for this? That bad man, Aaron Rodgers.
And if you aren't familiar, that's what he calls Aaron Rodgers, that bad man. He loves the way Aaron Rodgers plays.
Quarterback for the New York Jets, formerly of the Green Bay Packers, is on Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s shortlist for running mate this year. RFK Jr., who would be running as an independent, of course, confirmed that Rodgers and former Minnesota governor and pro wrestler Jesse the Body Ventura are under consideration as running mates. As for Rodgers, Kennedy says he and Aaron have been talking, quote, pretty continuously, end quote, for the past month.
All right, see, this is how you report. You give the facts. This is what we know to be true. I quoted RFK Jr. is what he just said.
Times says it's unclear if either Rodgers or Ventura have been formally offered the position, but both have welcomed the overtures. Now, there's no secret that Aaron Rodgers, the four-time NFL MVP and former Super Bowl champion with the Packers, is an ardent supporter of Kennedy. He's also...
Okay, so now he's moving into commentary, which Jake Tapper tried to pass off as fact.
So recovering from an opening game Achilles tear with the Jets that cost him the entire season. Rodgers is on track to make his return to New York with a $35 million salary this year. And by the way, the Jets so far had no comment on their report. What the hell can they say? If you're the New York Jets, you should be happy you're getting headlines. Because the damn sure ain't for what you do on the football field. So let's get that out the way first. Secondly, before anybody is willing to go off on Aaron Rodgers, because obviously what he has in common with RFK Jr. is that they both were deemed conspiracy theorists and they both were entirely and diametrically opposed to the...
I had to cut there, but you know what he meant when he said they're both opposed to something, because I can't say it on YouTube, but it involves a needle and an injection. So I'm just going to leave that there.
And that's how they came to know each other. And I get that part. But no matter what you think about what Aaron Rodgers feels or some of the things that he has to say, number one, don't act like the man is stupid and ignorant. He's not. Let's get that out the way. Number two, and more importantly, I think we have to reach this conclusion. We're in no position as a society to say a damn thing to Aaron Rodgers or anybody else. It's none of that shut up and play football. It's none of that shut up and be an athlete. You shouldn't have been doing that to begin with, but you certainly can't do that now. When you have a man in Donald Trump who just secured the Republican GOP nomination, that's what he's done. When he's just done that and he's got 4 indictments, 91 counts against him, has been impeached twice, is on the verge of being a convicted felon, and still every time he's in the news for being sued or losing a civil case or another criminal case coming in his direction, the man gets more money. His campaign generates more dollars. Because the world is saying, we don't give a damn what you think. That's our guy.
And that's the truth. He's laying out absolute fact right there. Yeah, he keeps getting indicted. They keep throwing stuff at him, but we keep donating because that's our guy.
And we're going to ride with him no matter what, even if he gets convicted, even if he's in a zebra suit, even if he's behind bars. His folks, which, by the way, last election spanned over 73 million.
Which is, I don't think Bob Costas understands. You can't repudiate 73 to 100 million people. Can't be done.
Said we gonna vote for him anyway. And if you're President Biden, how many people are you gonna get to go to the polls to vote for you compared to what they once did? That's the reality that we're living in. So if you want to talk about Aaron Rodgers all you want to, feel free. But you can't dismiss him. Not if he takes it seriously. And RFK Jr., yes, it's a two-party system in our government, right? But guess what? He's running as an independent. He was an environmental lawyer. The dude wrote a book against Anthony Fauci and said some highly incriminating things that normally would get you sued. Nobody has sued him, which gives you an indication that there must be some nuggets of truth to what he wrote. That's who's running for the presidency as an independent. And if nothing else, who knows what they might say to spark comments and dialogues from Trump and Biden. In the end, we might learn more than we ever anticipated. Don't disrespect it. Don't sniff it away. Take it seriously. Take it seriously.
Take it seriously. Love that commentary. All fact-based. Didn't put any real conjecture into it. All he said was an admonition is, you guys might want to watch out here. There might be something behind this. There might be some fire under that smoke. CNN knows it. A lot of the other sports journals know it. They just can't accept it. They just can't believe that this could be actually happening. Donald Trump running, indicted, charged in court the entire time, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. over here, environmentalist, anti-needle guy, might team up with Aaron Rodgers. Oh no, that's the reason for these kind of reports. Now, I've gone on a little bit here. This is one of my longer videos, but I got one more segment from Stephen A. Smith that I want you to hear. Check this out.
I see homeless folks in the streets of New York all the time that are American citizens. I damn sure see them in California. We've got poor, impoverished, starving people who were born and raised in this nation. How in the hell do we come up with a $53 million pilot program for illegals, but folks who are here
Shh, not supposed to say that word, Stephen. They're going to come for you. Stephen A. don't care.
Legally are born here, we don't have enough of them. Just like we could come up with billions for Ukraine, but somehow, some way, we can't fix the homeless problem. What about poor and desolate citizens here? How the hell do you print money?
Do you realize with everything going on in Haiti, again, Biden did not go down and rescue Americans. He left them there. Private citizens had to charter jets to go take care of Americans.
For foreign countries. But you don't print that money to help eradicate folks that are starving right here in the streets of America, who were born and raised here. This is what I'm talking about. And so when you have something like that, what's the one way to eradicate it? Yes, you got to have a flourishing economy. Yes, you can't have inflation. Yes, you can't be on the verge of a recession. Milk don't need to cost $7. Bread don't need to cost $5. Don't get me started with how much sugar costs.
Do you remember what you paid for bread a couple years ago? You remember what you paid for milk a couple years ago? That's the stuff they're normalizing now. Hey, it's much better now. They're completely gaslighting you.
You can talk about employment all you want to. You can talk about the labor participation rate. But guess what? If you ain't making no damn money and you got to get two jobs to pay the same prices or to buy the same amount of stuff that you used to buy, and the price is higher than it used to be because of inflation, then guess what? What are you really accomplishing?
Nothing.
That's why Trump is on the verge of getting elected, reelected.
And that's what it's all about. They don't care that Aaron Rodgers is teamed up with RFK Jr. They don't care that Aaron Rodgers may or may not have said something stupid at a party. That's not the reason why the sports journals are all on fire because of what supposedly Aaron Rodgers said. What they're pissed off about is that RFK Jr. might siphon away votes from Joe Biden. The fact that, oh my God, he may use somebody high profile as Aaron Rodgers, who's from Green Bay, who's in New York, could siphon away votes away from Joe Biden that might get Donald Trump reelected again. That's what this is all about. Don't let any of them bullshit you any further. Maybe there's some hope for sports journalism after all. And I'm not saying that Stephen A. Smith is a Donald Trump supporter, but at least he's telling it like it is. he's giving you the straight scoop. And notice he had to do that on his own podcast. He couldn't dare do that at ESPN. Let me know what you think about what Jake Tapper tried to do to Aaron Rodgers. Would love to hear your comments. Talk to you soon.